Redfall is going to be locked to 30 frames per second on Xbox Series X and S at launch. According to this on Eurogamer, it says that Arcane's vampire shooter will be locked at 30 frames per second on both Xbox Series and S. On the Xbox Series S, the game will run at 1440p and 30 frames per second. And Xbox Series X, Redfall will run at 4K and 30 frames per second. And both of these options are resolutions are all part of a game's quality mode. The 60 frames per second performance mode is still planned for Redfall on both consoles, so it's not just Xbox, but also PlayStation as well, and it will arrive post-launch through the update, according to Bethesda.
It's not coming to PlayStation. I think you mean Xbox Series. And,
it's not coming out there now. I think I got it confused with Ghostwire.
No, yeah, that's interesting. So they are going to bring a 60 FPS mode, but not a launch. Oh, that's disappointing. I'm not. I personally can't really see the difference in frame rates myself, but I know a lot of people are going to be very unhappy with this news. I feel like this is going to get a lot of people mad, and a lot of people going like, "Ugh, Xbox can't release any good games over 60 FPS." It is disappointing that we got these advanced consoles. We bought the Xbox Series X and I got a PS5, and no games seem to be able to do 60 frames per second and 4K. It seems to be one or the other. It seems very strange to me that that's still not a thing.
Well, there's a couple of points.
Gears of War 5 is the only one that seems to be able to do it. That's the only game I can think of that does it.
Right. There's a couple of points on this. First of all, this could be related that it may have introduced ray tracing, and I think it's the Arcane basically playing safe by having a 30 frames per second, which means we could have a really good quality for the game, and that also comes with ray tracing. And secondly, that about 10 or 20 years ago, 30 frames per second is still the norm, and this is something you still expect on Xbox 360. I think it's the games like Call of Duty and other multiplayer shooters that proclaims that 60 frames per second is pretty much a norm. So I think we're pretty much being spoiled at this point.
Yeah.
To me, Redfall at 30 frames per second with some good ray tracing, which I hope it will be in this quality mode, this is pretty much a norm, and it's just something you expect in the future. So I think either way, you're just still going to be spoiled with some really, really good visuals. But I think, as you said, it's still pretty much the case where people are going to be disappointed that it won't be 60 frames per second at launch. But we should not let that distract from the enjoyment of the game. In other words, it just means it's easier for me because it just means I can record it for 30 frames per second and 1080p.
That's true. See, silver linings is we can record it better. No, but yeah, I get it. I'm the same way. I mean, as I said, it doesn't really bother me too much. The only thing that bothers me is the fact that, as I said, when they launched these consoles, this generation was kind of touting the fact that we would be able to do ray tracing, 120 frames a second, 4K, and now it's like literally every game is like, well, it's only 4K and only 30 frames a second, but or it is 60 frames a second, but only in 1080p. So it doesn't seem to be like able to hit those high benchmarks that they set at the beginning of the generation, unfortunately. Also, does this what does this mean for Starfield? I'm looking like Starfield's going to be more like it's going to be 30 frames a second at this rate. If Redfall's 30 frames a second, I think Starfield's probably going to be in the same boat, unfortunately.
I hope not, because one, I feel they're going to go for 60 frames per second like on the PC, and I already did that with Skyrim. It depends. If they're going to increase the graphical performance of Starfield to the point that they would probably sacrifice frame rates for the quality of the graphics. But I hope it's not the case with that as with Redfall. But as I said, we just have to see, and we also hope that Redfall will be good. But I think the thing is, people are already not having a lot of hopes with it. So I hope it's not the case when a game comes out on during May. But we definitely have an episode planned of the podcast to dedicate talking about Redfall. But then again,
we will review that game.
Yes,
for sure.
Yes, that's right.
We can definitely review it. It's on Game Pass. We're definitely both going to play it, even if it is absolutely rubbish and we only play it for like an hour. We will play it. We will give it a try. I think. I'm hoping it's going to be good. It looks good from what I've seen, but then it's like, did you see the IGN first gameplay that's got a load of dislikes?
Really?
IGN recorded a gameplay for someone in IGN can't play video games. Apparently, the gameplay was so bad that people disliked it. People were just saying, no, it's just really bad. The person who's playing it just can't play video games very well. Like they weren't sprinting or using any of the abilities or anything, and it just like looked really bad. So it got a load of dislikes apparently. So yeah, so that's got bad publicity. It keeps getting bad publicity, and I'm hoping when the game comes out, it's going to be good, and everyone's just going to forget about all this stuff, and we're just going to enjoy the game. I'm hoping because I like Arcane, and I think it looks like a cool setting. It looks like a cool world. I'm really excited to explore the Redfall, the town of Redfall. I'm still trying to decide which character I'm going to be. I think I might be the sniper guy. I think he's kind of cool. I'm not sure.
I think I'm most likely to be a technician, though. So, yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway,
the robot, robot puppy. She's cool.
Anyway, so the big news is that Redfall will be tied to 30 frames per second at launch, which means the 60 frames per second update will be coming out post-launch. So that's our breaking news for today. Anyway.
Pretty sad news, but hopefully it'll be still good.